Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I am coming on to bring a message forward in regards to a subject matter that I've become very curious about within the last couple of years based on my exposure to certain people. And this particular topic is in regards to polygamous relationships. One thing that I've noticed is that it's becoming more of, I don't know if I would call it a trend, but I know in the conscious community, especially in the black community, black conscious community, many of those who are in the spotlight, who have a large platform, especially a lot of the masculines, um, seem to be promoting and strongly supporting as well as participating in uh, polygamous relationships, or at least many of them are strongly supporting it, like I said. And I'll tell you my personal experience that I had probably a little bit over a year ago was I had actually began communicating with someone, and he was very intriguing in a way where he knew a lot in terms of the history of black people, the history of religious structures. He knew a lot about creating and building sovereignty. He was actually an active Moor. Okay, this is his position, and he was actually a chief of a tribe. Okay. And speaking with him, I did come into a lot of knowledge in terms of it expanded my consciousness. It expanded my view in terms of the conditioning that a lot of black people have gone through here in America, and the importance of understanding sovereignty, and understanding the system that we are currently under. So he was very enlightening in that way. But one thing that he did bring up was the fact that he was in a polygamous union. This was, and in his mind, for him, he felt that to be in a monogamous relationship was, you could equate it to also being enslaved, okay? Mentally enslaved by the European belief system, okay? And there was just, I had a lot of resistance to that when we would communicate, because I felt like it was just something in my spirit that said, no, that can't be right. One thing that I did learn that over time, though, I began to learn more about the character of this particular individual, and I found that he was very egotistical. While he was very well versed and very knowledgeable about a lot of things in terms of consciousness and spirituality, he was very far removed from being compassionate, being empathetic, and operating from a space of love. He was very detached from that side of himself. And so his way of explaining it was that any woman who is resistant to polygamous relationships is still mentally enslaved and is not awake. As a matter of fact, she's still very much so asleep if she cannot embrace a man being with multiple women. But the reason why I was so repelled by it was the fact that he operated from a space of this dogmatic approach. Like he was very detached, like I said, emotionally. And so it was like, if you cannot operate from a space of love, if you lack compassion and empathy, then you completely missing the mark when it comes to evolving spiritually. Okay? Because if you lack those things, then you're pretty much operating, you might as well say 100% off of ego. You have all of this knowledge on spirituality, but there's no part of you that's fully implementing this in your life in order to use it to heal yourself. And so I felt that he lacked that. And so it made me question how these unions really come together. What is the driving force, and what is the true nature energetically of these unions? Because one thing that I'm noticing is that it's becoming a trend. It's a lot of people that's promoting polygamous relationships, and people are actually gaining a lot of followers, and they're creating large platforms for themselves based on these polygamous relationships, and saying, well, this is taking it back to our roots. This is taking it back to where we first began. We're supposed to have multiple wives. We're supposed to. So I just want to see energetically, because one thing that we do know is that people lie, energy does not. And so, without placing my opinion, I'm going to step back from this and I'm going to allow the energy to speak. And as you know, when we do these readings and deep dive into these topics, it doesn't mean that every situation is the same, but I'm picking up on at least half of those people who are in these relationships, at least half concerning the energy, or we might say the median, somewhere in the middle. Okay, so let's just see. I have several questions, and I can already tell you all that this will be a part 1 and a part 2 based on the amount of questions that I have. And I wanted to do this mainly because, like I said, a lot of people in the conscious community, specifically the Black community, the Black conscious community, are they are being motivated or encouraged to expand their horizons and to consider going back to the African way of doing things, so to speak. That's what, a lot of the conscious community is saying. And so let's just see, whether you feel pressured to do this or whether you feel that you're curious about doing this and you would like to know the energy surrounding these connections. I would like to bring forth some clarity in regards to that. So let's see. My first question that I have here is, what drives a man to begin a polygamous relationship? What is the driving force? Okay, so where is he mentally? What's going on? What is the driving force? What drives a man to begin a polygamous relationship? Because that's very important to know, the foundation, okay? Because the man is the one who's going to initiate this. And so he is the foundation. Where he stands mentally and the reasons for him doing it is literally the foundation of the relationship itself, okay? No matter how long or how many ends up joining, that is the start. That is the foundation. And if it's built on a solid foundation, then you'll find that it'll be a solid situation. If it's built on a rocky foundation, or if he has some sort of egotistical motives or whatever the case may be, then it's not going to be built on a stable foundation. And ultimately, it will be something that is bound to come to an end. So let's just see. What drives a man to begin a polygamous relationship? All right, so let's see what's coming out, y'all. Okay. So the first card we have coming out is the Three of Swords. Now, that's not a very good energy to start off with, okay? Especially as the first card being the driving force of a man starting his relationships or a polygamous relationship. This would be heartbreak. Look at what's at the bottom of the deck, y'all. The five of Cups, okay? So these two cards paired together is not a very good start in terms of the foundation of a polygamous relationship. What drives a man to start a polygamous relationship, I'm seeing, is heartbreak. Going through some very painful cycles in his life where he's taken many losses, and he's no longer optimistic about monogamous unions, because with the Five of Cups, the usual deck, the original deck, there's usually the person is focused in on the 3 cups that are spilt, and right behind them is usually 2 cups that are still standing. And so those 2 cups generally represent the Two of Cups, which is that union between 2 people. And the person has turned their back on being optimistic about having that union and very focused in on the losses that they've had to take. So I feel like this is strongly driven by heartbreak and pain, past heartbreak. This could even go back as far as childhood, watching their parents dealing in heartbreaking relationships that never really panned out to be anything stable or solid. So with the Three of Swords and the Three of Swords and the Five of Cups, I feel like it's strongly driven by a blocked heart chakra, pain. When I see a 3 and a 5, what I'm hearing is that what would be between a 3 and a 5 is a 4. And the 4 deals with the foundation. So I feel like the foundation of their perception of relationships was definitely a rocky foundation from childhood, like I said. So So let's see what else is coming out here. What drives a man? Okay, we have the Fool in the reverse. So this is jumping way too fast, okay? This is jumping into a situation without thinking it out first, okay? Being a risk taker, but doing it in a very, I can't even think of the word that was just getting ready to come to mind, but doing it in a very abrupt way, a very, just not thinking it through, okay? Just jumping into it based off of his past pain. So let me clarify. Let's clarify the Three of Swords here. Let's clarify the Three of Swords in terms of what drives a man to begin a polygamous relationship. Then I'm going to move on to the next question here. Look at this, okay? So we have the Two of Swords coming out in the reverse, okay? And at the bottom of the deck, the Ten of Pentacles in the reverse. So the Two of Swords in the reverse is that energy of being indecisive, not really being able to make a decision here. And not having full sight or full perception of the decisions that's being made. Literally making a decision based on past pain. So jumping into a situation based on past pain, not healing though, just jumping right in with an unhealed heart is what it seems to be happening with a good amount of these relationships based on what is being projected energetically. Y'all have to excuse me. It is like almost 12 o'clock at night over here, so I have to tell my children to be quiet because they shouldn't even be up. But let me continue. The Ten of Pentacles in the reverse at the bottom of the deck indicates that I feel strongly this is dating back to their childhood. Maybe for generations, they was not able to see a healthy, solid connection between two people coming up. And so they suffered a lot of pain as a result of what they experienced and what they watched growing up. And they took a lot of that into their relationships, maybe even attracting to them people that was a direct reflection of what they had seen growing up, what they had yet to heal from, because they never had a proper example of love. Shh. Amina. And so the Ten of Pentacles in the reverse is indicating a broken household, broken family. So maybe they had lost their desire or some sort of optimistic, they lost their optimism towards relationships, okay, with just two people. And so, yeah, this was very emotionally driven, but driven on the wrong types of emotion. So what is the Five of Cups here? What is the Five of Cups? So then this already shows you that the man... Many of the men who initiate these polygamous relationships, the foundation is way off emotionally, at least emotionally from the very start, okay? Yes, so the Five of Cups is the High Priestess in the reverse. So this is that energy of not listening to your intuition, not being able to go within, and to a strong disconnect from the spiritual aspects of themselves as well. Yeah, this is all about not healing. We got the Four of Swords in reverse. So they never really gave themselves a chance to put their heart back in after it had been ripped out, because as you can see, the first card that came out is the Three of Swords. So their heart is ripped out, you know, and they're carrying this pain with them, because you see she has this cord attachment to this heartbreak. So I feel like these masculines who begin these polygamous relationships carried much of this heartbreak with them throughout their lives and was never able to do the work, or they never took the time out to do the work to heal, because they had a strong disconnection from the spiritual aspect of themselves, with the High Priestess being in the reverse. And so with this card coming out in the reverse, they never took a break. Maybe even when it came to their relationships, they found themselves jumping from one relationship to the next without thinking, okay? So this is not a very good foundation for a polygamous relationship, or for any relationship for that matter. So let's see. What is the Fool in reverse? What is the Fool in reverse? And then we're going to move on to the next question. Okay, so the Fool in reverse is the Death card coming out. Um, I feel like for many of them, they found that jumping into these connections ended up, they prematurely made a decision without thinking, and ultimately they ended up going through a lot of changes and transformations as a result of it. Maybe things ended up coming to a abrupt ending as a result of just, jumping in head first, with a broken heart, unhealed past pain, and a very pessimistic perception of love, a strong disconnection from the spiritual aspect of themselves, strong emphasis on the breakdown of family structures or what they had eyewitnessed coming up as a child or through generations, and just not being able to see things clearly. So this is what's happening in terms of the foundation for the man, because generally the man is the one who initiates these types of unions. So let's see. What drives a woman to join a polygamous relationship? Shh. What drives the women to join polygamous relationships? Because now we know that the foundation, the masculine energy of the relationship, and that's really, it's not good, because the masculine, he is the one, he's like the driving force of the entire community, okay, the entire union. Regardless of how many women is joined in, the masculine is like the focal point, because it starts with him, and then from there he has multiple women that he actually invites into the relationship. And so if you're saying that this man begins this from a broken heart, jumping head first based on the fact that he was never able to see a healthy union between two people, with an unhealed heart, then that means that who he attracts to him likely is going to come in with an unhealed heart, and those people that they add into the relationship are going to be a direct reflection of that union between the two people who started it and those who join in. It's like that's a big domino effect of a mess, if you ask me. But let's just see what drives women to join in a polygamous relationship. We got to start from the foundation, from the root, okay? Because everything that our ancestors did was not necessarily right, okay? Just because it was a tradition doesn't mean that it's something that needs to be revisited if it didn't start from, if it wasn't producing a good outcome in terms of the community-wise. So we have here the Knight of Swords. This is that energy of rushing in. This is that energy of moving fast. So I feel like, starting off right off from the bat, many of these women did not want to miss the boat, okay? Maybe some of them felt like love was not in the cards for them, or things was taking too long. And so this is like that rushed energy, moving forward very fast. So let's see. The driving force for the women. Look at this. The Fool came out in the reverse, just like the masculine energy, jumping in head first without thinking. So the feminine energy rushes into these relationships as well. This person is holding an amethyst. So the amethyst always deals with listening to your intuition. So many of these women jump in head first without listening to their intuition. They just know that they don't want to miss out on a connection. They don't want to miss out on an opportunity to say maybe that they've been married, or that they have a solid, committed partnership. Okay, maybe they feel like they're running out of time, but many of these women just jump in head first and they rush into these situations. At the bottom of this deck here is the Queen of Wands in the reverse. That's an energy of someone who is lacking her creative nature. This is someone who lacks confidence, who lacks who's very insecure within herself. This is someone who's also very jealous in her energy, who can be very emotionally driven in the way that she communicates. She could be very passionate in the way that she communicates, but not in a good way, okay? This is somebody who is very feisty, who is very, it's just the Queen of Wands is not somebody that you want to deal with when it comes to trying to hash something out in a mature way. She's not the one that's going to be able to do that. And so you're coming in with someone who's very insecure, who lacks their creative abilities, who may even be manipulative in their energy, because the Queen of Wands in reverse can be very manipulative in her energy. This is someone who's rushing in out of insecurity. This is someone who's jumping in head first out of insecurity. Now, what's right behind this, I can't help but notice, is the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the feminine energy might rush into these types of polygamous relationships out of feeling as if it can provide them with a sense of material security. Okay, because the Queen of Pentacles is all about that financial security. That's why she's sitting there very comfortable holding on to that pentacle. And so, yeah, I feel like this is driven by insecurity. It's driven by fear of being left out in the cold. And it's also driven by financial motives, financial motivation, material motivation, and also sexual, feeling as if, sexually, because the Queen of Wands in reverse can have a promiscuous type of history or a promiscuous type of energy because of her insecurities. But not saying that all of these women have that, but it can be an issue, or it could have been a past issue. But there's something about wanting to be made an honest woman, at least material wise. People will be able to look at her and say, well, now you have accomplished something here, okay? Because the Queen of Wands in reverse to the Queen of Pentacles in the upright, it's like I was insecure, so I rushed into this. I jumped in head first because it would provide me with a sense of security. And, let's just clarify. What is the Fool in reverse for the women who join these polygamous relationships? The Fool in reverse. What is the Fool in reverse? Okay, so the Fool in reverse, this is too many cards. I guess I'll take them though. So we have the Nine of Wands. This is someone who has been through a lot, okay? Very defensive. They've been through a lot. This is like the wounded warrior, still barely holding on, okay? But not wanting to give up. So I feel like this is that energy of a woman who has been through many hardships in her past and probably has gone through a lot of very traumatic relationships, very emotionally, physically, or mentally abusive relationships. And she doesn't want to give up on a prospect of having a committed relationship, but she jumps in based on past pain. She jumps in based on insecurity. She jumps in based on probably carrying in lack mentality, feeling as if she can't create stability for herself. And so she jumps into a situation without thinking, because she feels like she may miss out on something if she doesn't take this offer, because maybe this is the best thing that's coming in her direction in terms of commitment. Okay, she has a man that comes in with a broken heart. He attracts to him a woman who is also broken and insecure, and together they come together and jump head first into a situation that is largely driven by financial security, sexual energy with the Queen of Wands in reverse. But there's no love here. So far, I haven't seen any cups coming out except for the Five of Cups for the masculine energy, which is that grieving energy of the past. So we have the Four of Swords here. I feel like she jumps in head first and hopes that this will allow her for an opportunity to heal, okay? And this will also give her a break, something about being able to finally rest, finally take a break from those things that she has gone through. Then we have the Ace of Pentacles in the reverse. This is all about missing an opportunity. So I feel like it's that energy of, because this is clarifying the Fool in reverse, which is about jumping in head first, jumping in too fast. She does this because she fears missing an opportunity here. Missing an opportunity for something that's going to be stable and solid. So let's see, what is the Knight of Swords? The Knight of Swords is the King of Cups in the reverse. The King of Cups in reverse is not emotionally available, okay? Rushing in towards someone who is not emotionally available. She's not even emotionally available. Also, emotional manipulation is there as well. So the feminine energy rushes into these relationships, these polygamous relationships, towards people who are not emotionally available to them, but she's also not able or not capable in that at that time to be emotionally available to that person. Is largely driven by sexual motivation as well as material motivation and this fear of losing out on opportunities. And so that's why I said the heart, look at this, the Empress is in the reverse. The Empress in the reverse is someone who is very codependent. This is someone who lacks self-love. They lack that spiritual connection within themselves. Um, they lack intuitive connection. They it's so many different things that the Empress in the reverse lacks. And so I feel like this is largely driven by women who are very insecure within themselves. And so maybe they jump in hopes that this relationship might heal them some sort of way. But I don't really understand how they could feel that it would be healing to them when they're connecting with someone who is also broken. The masculine energy is also broken jumping into these relationships. So let's see. What is the Queen of Wands in the reverse? Shh. Queen of Wands in reverse. So what we have coming out is the Moon and the Seven of Pentacles in the reverse. So this is fear of not having any growth. This is fear of all of those things that, I would say past relationships where she might have invested a lot of her time. She was not able to reap the harvest of those relationships. I feel like even in this Queen of Wands in reverse, like I said, if in the past she was very sexually driven, maybe she used her sexual energy in order to attract men, in hopes that they would invest in her. Ultimately, those relationships never panned out. These people never invested in these relationships, or if there was a significant period of time that was spent in these connections, it never really panned out. It never reaped a harvest. And so I feel like in her insecurities and out of fear, because the moon can indicate fear, it was that energy of her just being emotionally driven based on heartbreak and pain, and based on not seeing any growth in her past. And so now it's like a very codependent energy. The feminine energy came in to these polygamous relationships with a very codependent energy on the masculine, in hopes that this would bring some healing to her and some financial stability to her. But there's no love here. So that's that's not a good foundation to start off with. Okay, so let's move forward to the next question. What is the emotional impact on the woman? How does these polygamous relationships impact the woman emotionally? Because this is very important. Emotions are energy in motion. And so then we're talking about energetically what is surrounding these connections as a whole, because now we're seeing that the foundation is based on two people that initially came together, both of them broken, both of them jumping in too fast, both of them insecure, both of them having a motive which is driven by something that's very surface based, whether it's sex, materialism, ego. And then they come together. Look at this, y'all. They come together, okay, sexually based, but very deceptive at the same time, okay? They come together with these very weak foundations, and they call in other people into these connections, and they end up creating a community amongst themselves. Okay, now one thing that the man that I had communicated with at that time, one thing that he did say a lot was that people need to learn how to leave their emotions out of it, because it's all about creating a foundation. It's all about creating a community. It's all about creating financial security amongst people. It's about creating a community that has stability and financial security. But when you leave out the aspect of love, when you leave out the aspect of healing, when you leave out the, out compassion and empathy and all of these things, then you have such a weak foundation that's only based on materialism and what you all can build financially amongst one another, that ultimately it's going to come crashing down. And when it crashes, it's going to crash hard as hell. And it's going to be a very painful one, because then that means that you got a lot of people that's coming in. Everybody is coming in with this unhealed energy, right? But everybody is driven by ego. Okay, everybody is driven by materialism. So yeah, everybody has a job. Everyone is working. Everybody is putting their contribution into the pot, but everyone is unhappy. Everyone is emotionally unsatisfied. Everyone is still internally, they have all of these wounds that they have not healed. And I feel that what these relationships do to these type of people coming together is that it actually further puts more, it actually worsens the wounds that they have, the ones that they've covered up, the ones that they want to ignore. It actually causes more trauma to these wounds, because now you got two people that come together, then they add more people in. This man adds more women into this relationship, and then she feels more and more abandoned. If she came in with abandonment issues, if she came in with insecurity issues, which is what you're seeing here already, we see that very clearly, and is sexually driven, is materially driven, then okay, now here comes the other woman. Now she has to compete with the next woman. So it's further adding to her insecurities. Then she has to deal with feeling abandoned, because now he has to separate his time between himself and the other woman. But he doesn't even know how to do it. He doesn't even know how to really show love. He doesn't know how to show empathy, because he's coming in with a broken heart. He's driven off of feeling as if love doesn't really exist, because of the past that he's been through and what he's experienced and eyewitnessed throughout his childhood and coming up in his own relationships and in being in a monogamous relationship. He's lost faith in love, and so he doesn't even know how to be empathetic towards the woman who is insecure. So he's driven off of this dogmatic approach. Well, in your awakening, y'all are supposed to be conscious, right? Y'all understand that we doing this because we taking it back to the roots, and you don't get jealous. Jealousy is not what we do here. This is all about building a community. So he completely discounts the fact that these women have emotions. Not only do they have emotions, but they have emotions that are largely due to pain that they have yet to heal from. Shh. Amina, I need you to stop now. That's enough. And so let's keep going. So the question here is, what is the emotional impact on the women? The emotional impact on the women. Okay. That was too many cards that fell, y'all. I'm going to do that again. The emotional impact of these polygamous relationships on the women. So what we have here is the Eight of Wands in reverse, just as I suspected. Now, the Eight of Wands in reverse, I'm going to clarify these with a different deck that I have here. The emotional impact we have here is the Hangman, okay? And then we also have here, we have the Five of Swords, okay? This came out in the reverse. So let me clarify these here. Look at this, y'all. I'm going to take these two as well. The Ace of Wands in reverse, and then the Lovers in the reverse. The emotional impact. So let me clarify with this. I'm going to use this deck. The emotional impact that polygamous relationships has on the women who are involved in these unions. Because the Eight of Wands in reverse indicates jealousy, a strong jealous energy. We already saw the Queen of Wands in reverse. That's a jealous woman who's very insecure, but emotionally it impacts her in a way where she's very jealous of these connections, this connection that he has with other women. The Hangman is that energy of feeling stuck, okay? Feeling stuck, feeling like you have to make this sacrifice. The Lovers in the reverse is a off-balance connection, Okay, very karmic connection. The Ace of Wands in reverse indicates that there's no spark, there's no passion, there's no zeal, there's no excitement. That initial spark and passion that might have driven these two people to come together, the flame is now died out. And then we have the the Five of Swords here, which is that competitive energy, jealous energy, and it's also very manipulative energy coming out in the reverse. It's like trying to avoid this type of situation here. So this is not looking good at all for those of you who might be considering these types of unions. Like I said, not all of them have these issues, but we're seeing energetically what is being put out into the universe by many of these unions. This is not looking good in terms of a foundation. So what is the Eight of Wands? And again, this is the question concerning how these polygamous unions are affecting the emotional state of the women involved. What is the Eight of Wands in the reverse? So the Eight of Wands in the reverse, it says, give me another chance. So I feel with that jealous energy, and also the Eight of Wands in reverse will be stopped. It's like that energy of no more passion in terms of sexual energy, okay? In terms of maybe there's times where, once the other woman comes in, this person ends up losing their passion and excitement. This woman loses her passion and excitement for the man once the other woman is welcomed into the relationship out of jealousy and envy. And she finds that either she's constantly begging for another chance to get it right, or he's begging for another chance to get it right. What is the Eight of Wands in reverse? Because obviously, if you're jealous in a relationship, then yeah, it's going to affect the sexual connection. It's going to affect many aspects of the relationship. Eight of Wands in the reverse. I'm addicted to sex, okay? Eight of Wands in reverse, I'm addicted to sex. So then the passion ends up dying out, because then you have this masculine who came in driven by his lack of love. But so then he was driven by another emotion, and that would have been his sexual energy, okay? Him driven by his addiction potentially to sex. And this could also be the female, though, because we saw the Queen of Wands in reverse. And like I told y'all, that would be someone who may have had some promiscuous behavior in her past history. And so out of insecurity, okay? And so addictions to sex, they end up losing that spark and that passion, because now this man is going back and forth. But he might find more attraction to the new one that came on, because now he has some new stuff, right? And so this affects the sexual connection, and emotionally it causes jealousy, because then it's like, give me another chance. I'm addicted to sex. It's like that energy of, okay, so if I'm addicted to sex, now what I'm hearing is some of these men tell these women, this is how I get started. I'm addicted to sex. I enjoy being with other women, but I want to be with you. If you can give me another chance, but allow me to bring someone else in, then at least you can say, well, you know where I'm at. I'm not just out in the street having sex with different women that you don't know. You know this one because we brought her in. And so now it's that energy of trying to keep him from running the streets and being promiscuous or cheating or being having infidelity in a relationship. And so she herself, out of her own insecurities and rushing into a situation, ends up giving him another chance to prevent him from going to be with other women. But the Lovers is here in the reverse, and ultimately it really affects their sexual connection strongly, okay? The passion dies out, okay? And so what is the Hangman? Let's see, what is the Hangman here? Because I feel like that's that energy of her waiting for him to have some sort of sexual desires towards her. I feel like it, let me see. This says constant fighting. So the Hangman is constant fighting. And so it's that energy of emotionally they're not able to connect because they didn't come together emotionally driven by love in the first place. They came together driven by insecurities and sexual connection. So then this person, this man who has an addiction to sex, He wants to go out. He wants to have other women, but this woman does not want him to leave her because she's insecure about not being able to have another chance for something that's going to be long-term and stable based on her past history. So then he goes out and he finds a woman who's also insecure, likely insecure, brings her into the relationship, reassures this first woman that, okay, now that I have this woman here, I'm not going to be cheating. You know who I'm with. We're all together. We're all one big family. Let's take it back to the roots. This is how it's supposed to be done. And then she finds herself constantly fighting with him, feeling as if she's sacrificing herself, feeling as if she's always having to be put on pause or put on hold because now he has a new boo. Now he has a new sweetie that he can go to that's right next door in the room next door, okay? What is the Five of Swords in the reverse? I'm still hurting from my past. So yes, the Five of Swords in the reverse, I'm still hurting from my past. That would be that energy of being hurt, okay? Five of Swords is that manipulative energy, constantly battling with someone. And so with it coming out in the reverse, this is like trying to avoid confrontation because of this constant fighting. We see this already came out. This constant fighting, always trying to avoid confrontation within this relationship, okay? Even though they're still hurting from the past situation, so nothing ever gets healed. This man who is in this, who is the ringleader of this polygamous relationship, is able to avoid having to face the traumas that have been caused within the relationship because he always has another woman there to keep him distracted. And so this woman ends up feeling like she's stuck. She ends up emotionally disconnected. She ends up less passionate and having less excitement and zeal. This is a large emphasis, a lot of emphasis on the sacral chakra. So a lot of her creative nature, her creative energy becomes blocked and stifled. So when she lacks zeal and passion for life, I feel like these type of connections is where people end up pleasure seeking behaviors, whether it's overeating, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. They end up doing something in order to accommodate for the lack of passion and excitement and zeal that they feel within the relationship and within life in general. Because I'm feeling like this is really a very low vibrational energy here. So let me clarify the Lovers in the reverse, and then I'm going to move on to the next question. Secrets. Secrets is what came out. So the Lovers in the reverse is all about secrets. So then it's that energy of, right at the bottom of the deck, I can't forgive you. So a lot of secrets, a lot of unforgiveness. This person, likely the man that she's dealing with, has been out having multiple affairs, and until she finally gives in. He's constantly asking for another chance, and out of her insecurity, she gives him another chance, and she says, okay, you could bring someone else into the relationship. But they come in with all of these secrets. There's no open communication. This is messy. Very messy. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm going to close out to start for the part 2. Hopefully you all will join me with the part 2 if you're interested to go a little bit deeper. In the part 2, I'm going to be asking, because right now I'm getting ready to see what is the emotional impact on the man. Then I'm going to look into how do the women generally feel about one another. That's very important. I want to look into the sexual impact it has on the woman, the sexual impact that it has on the man. How is romantic love affected? And how are the children affected? That's very important. And then the common outcome of these types of connections. So that's going to be what's in part 2 if you all join me. So now let me look into how is the man emotionally impacted by these polygamous relationships. Because from what we saw from the very beginning, he comes in with a completely blocked off heart chakra, not doing the work to heal. Okay, quietly. Not doing the work to heal, okay? And just completely lacking love in his heart because of what he's been through. So he's not driven, his motivation is not driven by a healthy desire, okay? So how is the man emotionally impacted by polygamous relationships? How does it affect him emotionally? Okay, so what came out is the Ace of Cups in the reverse. What I tell y'all, this is all about that heart chakra energy, because this is right here in strong emphasis on the heart chakra. In the reverse, that's a blocked off heart chakra. So he already came in with a blocked heart chakra, but once he gets into the relationship, it actually makes him harden his heart even more. That's a big problem, because if you all go back and look into my other videos, I speak a lot about energy, especially when it comes to what is the energy of the thoughts, the emotions between two people when they connect sexually. I spoke about that in my videos in regards to pornography, in a few of my other videos as well. But you have two people who are blocked off emotionally, strongly insecure, jealous, have a lot of bitterness in their heart, unforgiveness, secrets, and they come together. They carry this energy and they create a child. So that child is created between two people who have a loveless relationship, okay? That is a major issue because that strongly impacts the DNA expression of that child, okay? And obviously it's going to have a strong impact and a strong effect on how that child, the environment that that child is raised in, okay? Because coming into the world, they're coming into the world to two parents who are largely unhealed and becoming even more and more deeply engrossed in this unhealed energy due to the trauma that this polygamous relationship is causing them, especially the mother, I feel, but even more, but both of them are impacted. So let's see what else is coming out here. So what we have here is the Eight of Swords. That's feeling trapped, okay? Emotionally, this makes the man that's involved in these polygamous relationships feel very trapped, emotionally trapped, mentally trapped, okay? Then I was just talking to you all about pregnancy and how this affects. I feel like maybe that's why, because these cards have come out together and the Chariot is in the reverse. This indicates no forward movement, okay? Not knowing which direction to go in. And so feeling stuck, feeling like things are completely halted and trapped. So I feel what happens is he comes into these polygamous relationships and he ends up having multiple children by these women, by women who they themselves are not healed. They themselves are very insecure. But now he feels stuck. Now he feels obligated, but stuck in a way where it's not a comfortable feeling because his heart is not in it. He lacks love. He lacks compassion for these relationships and for these women. And now he just feels like he can't go anywhere. Now he feels like he's just stuck in these situations, but he's definitely creating offspring through these relationships. Okay. So let's see what else is coming out here in terms of how this is emotionally impacting the man. And then I'm going to get started on my part 2. Look at this, y'all. What came out is the Wheel of Fortune in the reverse. That is a karmic cycle, a never-ending karmic cycle. He's never able to close out the chapter. That's why he feels stuck, because he ends up surrounding himself by women who are in their own karmic energy. They have not worked out their own karma. He hasn't even worked out his own karma. So you got a bunch of people coming together, unhealed, largely motivated by sex and materialism, largely on the surface of life. In their carnal nature, they come together and they do this, not knowing why they're doing it. They're just doing it because they've had issues in the past. They need security. They feel like they're going to miss out on opportunities, and this is a mess, okay? So they end up in this karmic wheel, this karmic cycle of just negative energy, never able to close out old chapters and move forward. No growth, no progression, no forward movement. So emotionally, he ends up mentally trapped, mentally stuck, feeling as if he's stuck in this relationship now that he's created offspring with these women. And yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. Let's move into the part 2. And I'm glad for you all who joined me in part 1. I hope this was able to bring some clarity to you, so that you're not too, feeling as if you're not conscious or awakened based on the fact that you're not joining in to these polygamous relationships. Go with your intuition, okay? So let's go ahead and move into part 2. Talk to you all pretty soon.